Check out terms apply. See site for details. That's omahasteaks.com, code SKY.
Turn your fingers into a microphone and talk back. wgnsradio.com is Rutherford County's online source for what matters to you. wgnsradio.com.
This message brought to you by the Central Tennessee Regional Solid Waste Planning Board. Visit recyclerightTN.com for tips, ideas, and locations on where to recycle near you. Recycling isn't just about tossing materials in a bin, it's about knowing which materials are accepted. Go to recyclerightTN.com.
Recycle Right Tennessee.
Whether it's a cough, a fever, or something you can't quite name, MMC Now makes care easy. Walk right in, get seen quickly, and your visit connects directly to your MMC doctor. Care you trust, with providers you know, with digital check-in and multiple locations around town. MMC Now is here when you need us.
Murfreesboro Medical Clinic.
We're the Good Neighbor Network. FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro. FM 100.5 Smyrna. Audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Good morning. Bill Kraus says we're in the holiday season, the WGNS Radio Roundtable Thursday morning edition. Hoping you're all enjoying the weather, up and down, low and high, but it's almost like our behavior and personalities during this Christmas holiday. We have this morning a dear friend, longtime colleague, former student, excellent student, a gentleman who is in the state legislature. All of you, most of you certainly know Representative Mike Sparks. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
I am doing wonderful, and we have a guest on the phone. Do you want to give an introduction?
Yeah. I thought Eric Ritchie, owner of Crusader Auto Works, and just man about town, got his hand in a lot of things. He was going to come to the station. I know he had something come up. He couldn't make it, but Eric is involved with Little Arts Council, Business Council down there in Smyrna, at Trellis and Vine with Ron Alley. And Eric's working on a really interesting project that I thought you, Dr. Kraus, of all people, enjoy, which is this 100th anniversary of Route 66, which is next year, will be the 100th anniversary.
Wow.
So, Eric, how you doing?
I'm good, guys. How are you guys?
Oop.
You guys there?
Yeah, go ahead. I just put my headphones on.
No problem. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Great. Running like crazy as always. How are you guys?
Good morning, Eric. Good to meet you, and I'm looking forward to hearing about Get Your Kicks on 66, because I can tell a story about that. As you get older, you have more stories to tell.
Yes, sir.
And my dad was driving from Cleveland, Ohio to Southern California to join in the production work of MGM Studios. And in 1927, he was driving a 1927 Lincoln across Highway 66.
Wow.
And the stories he told, certainly one of the first drivers of Get Your Kicks on 66.
Wow.
And a lot of it was dirt, believe it or not. It wasn't all paved.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like we need to spend some more time interviewing you for this upcoming event.
Well, if we can help, we're here for you. So, Eric, what got you into the Highway 66 interest?
Yeah, so I've over the years, I spent most of my career in tech and marketing and media, and I co-own a fairly large music, film, and television production company in Nashville, and I'm a big car guy as well. I own Crusader Auto Works there in Smyrna that I bought a number of years ago as a hobby business, and I'm a big car nut, and so that's kind of how I get my fix on the weekends there. But I've always wanted to do a show. We always wanted to develop a show that was car-related, and we do a lot of international music and events with a lot of music celebrities and film and television celebrities, and so a lot of those guys are real big car guys. And so last year we said, hey, the Route 66 anniversary is coming up. Let's call a bunch of our celebrity buddies and see if any of them want to run the entire 2,000 miles with us in classic cars, and we'll get some charities involved and raise a bunch of money and film it for television. And so that's what we did.
Wasn't there a TV show years ago relating to 66? I don't know why my memory serves. There was a series, Guys on 66. I'm sure I'm not confusing it with
a couple of movies.
Maybe there was movies, but it might have been a TV show. I don't know. I'm going to have to Google it.
Yeah, lots of history there, and lots of film history, obviously along Route 66. And so, as this show has come together over the last year, right now we've got about 90 celebrities that are involved, and we have 10 charities that we're going to be raising money for. We have a concert series, and we're going to cross 9 cities in 12 days, and raise money for some really great causes along the way, and it's now become a 12-part series on the CW network that'll start airing on May 13th, an hour a week during prime time.
I'm going to have to introduce you to my oldest son, Jeff, who is the public information officer of the city of San Bernardino. So it falls right in the Route 66.
Absolutely. We'll be going right through there with about 3. Well, and we've also invited 250 other classic car owners from all over the world to come do the trip with us. And so we're going to be a moving 272 car show every day of the event over 12 days, and going through a lot of really great cities and telling a lot of amazing stories about the history of Route 66. One of the foundations we're raising money for is called the Road Ahead Partnership, which is a federally funded nonprofit to a certain extent that is entirely focused on the restoration and recovery of the cities and towns and businesses along Route 66. So our intent is to raise $1 million apiece for all 10 of the charities, and I think we're going to go way past that.
Wow.
That's fantastic. And it technically was, while it wasn't totally a transcontinental highway, because it began, in Chicago, ended in Santa Monica, it was really the first. The Lincoln Highway, which went through the Midwest, I think some years later, was normally considered the first transcontinental highway.
That's right, yeah. And, and Route 66 was destined to be much bigger than it was, but when the main interstate systems began to bypass a lot of those Route 66 towns, a lot of those communities and the route was kind of left behind. So it's going to be really great to be able to tell across 13 hours of programming on the CW. Our intent is to really focus on telling the really meaningful stories about the route and the history there, and then showcase these nonprofits with a whole bunch of very willing celebrities along the way.
It would be interesting to, and again, you're under a limited budget and certainly limited time, but to somewhat send out a request for whether it's media, whether it's Chamber of Commerce and communities along the way, to see if they could identify the person who has the longest memory of living on Highway 66. You go in New Mexico and Arizona, some of those towns that I-40 have bypassed, and you begin to say, is there somebody who says, I remember back when the big truck went by my house on old 66.
Yeah.
There must, there's got to be an interesting participatory role there that could be created if it wasn't too expensive or time management.
No, not at all. Not at all. And in fact, we've already started filming. We were just, Ian Ziering from the television show 90210 is hosting the show for us. And I was just with Ian filming at the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta last month, in October. And so we're meeting a lot of really into their years characters along the way that are going to be a big part of this show. So that's a great idea, and I think we found a couple of them already, and we're bound to find a lot more as we get rolling here.
Absolutely. You know what would be interesting? What was the price of gas 100 years ago on Highway 66?
That's a good question.
Pennies. Compared to today.
What's a penny? They now say. Kids today say, what is a penny?
Yeah, a penny used to be worth something back then. It's not anymore.
I was just saying the other day to somebody, you could buy a bubble gum with a penny in the little machine.
Yeah.
Those days, long gone.
Tell us about the other things you've done within the entertainment, communication, TV, movie, special event activity.
Yeah, so, a lot of what we've done historically has been foundation-based as well. And so I hosted a television show for a number of years on the Pursuit Channel called The Sovereign Sportsman that was really focused on taking severely wounded veterans and forgotten tribal nations across the country on high adventure outings as part of the rehab and their reintroduction into their version of what life was now as a wounded military soldier. And so that's where it all started for me almost 20 years ago. And then about 3 years ago, I got hooked up with a guy named Gary Bridges, who is now my partner in our media and production company in Nashville. And we just made the decision that back when I'd been filming with the Sovereign Sportsman, it was such a huge impact on my life and my kids and my entire family, the work that we were doing with these veterans and these forgotten tribal entities all over the country and all that we made the decision, Gary Bridges and I did, that, hey, from now on, we're just going to focus all of our production efforts on content and productions that have a give back and humanitarian component to it. And once we made that decision, the whole world kind of cracked open like an oyster for us. And so we've done a lot of music stuff. James Burton, who was Elvis Presley's guitar player and band leader for all the years leading up to Elvis's death, is like a surrogate grandfather of ours. And so we filmed some international live large production events with him, with some of the greatest rock and roll guitar players from all over the world, including Brian May and John Oates and Steve Wariner and Albert Lee and Joe Walsh and all these guys. And so a lot of it has been music-based, and then a lot of the stuff what we're doing now is this Route 66 is turning into one of the biggest productions we've ever done and will be one of the most publicly visible productions nationwide starting in May. And then we developed a show called Mission Kitchen that is a show that brings world-renowned chefs from all over the world in to serve nonprofit organizations as part of events that they're holding to highlight those causes. And that show was just picked up by Lifetime Television a couple months ago, and then we've got about 7 other shows right behind it that are all humanitarian give back things. I tell Mike all the time, I tried to retire 3 years ago and it didn't take, but what I want to do for the rest of my life is make really meaningful family-oriented content that has a way to raise a lot of money for a lot of really deserving causes, and that's what we're doing.
The only time you retire, Eric, is when you take one of your collective cars into Firestone and say, I'd like to retire.
Okay. Roger Thomas was there this morning.
Oh.
At Firestone, yeah.
Good
He's
plug.
listening as we speak.
You know what would be interesting, of course, this gets into history, and Mike can totally appreciate this. I wonder what the right-of-way acquisition issues were to build 66. Was it the federal government? Were each of the state governments involved in acquisition? Was the relationships with local tribal consuls in Arizona and New Mexico involved as looking for right-of-way and acquisition? You can go back. We look at TDOT. We look at acquisition and road building and what have you. The history of that prior to the opening of 66, intrigues me as a former public official.
Yes. Well,
absolutely, and we've done some of the research already in preparation for the show, and there's back then there was some nefarious things that were going on, and there was still a lot of conflict that existed between tribal lands and the federal government.
Sure.
And so it is a very, very. I tell you what, it could be its own miniseries, honestly.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I think is something that we're really filming this thing with that in mind, because as we've talked more and more about this event and raised the awareness for Route 66, not just to celebrate the anniversary, but to tell the stories of Route 66, it's bringing out a lot of incredibly interesting backstories that I never knew about, and I'm a bit of a historian, but I mean there's so much stuff that I never knew about, and I think it's going to be really interesting to people, the side stories that we tell through this whole process.
Was there one ribbon cutting at each end or in the middle, or what kind of, do you have the information of the ceremonial event that officially opened up the highway?
I don't at this point, but it's definitely on the roster. And the Road Ahead partnership that we are now partnered with, the nonprofit that's that's really focused their entire cause on the restoration and renovation of Route 66 is going to be instrumental in helping tell that story through this whole process.
What's the movie made a number of years ago, cartoon movie on
Cars.
Cars, absolutely.
Cars.
There's a restaurant in Holbrook, Arizona, where it's almost like a Cars museum, and it actually was the focal point for the cafe used in Cars, and it's a great place to stop and eat. In fact, there are historians that will just follow the old Route 66 wherever and whenever they can and relive some of the historical sites along the way.
Is that in Seligman? Is that what town that is? Arizona?
Holbrook.
Okay, I got to travel down part of it. I guess because it's got some old stores that look like the
yes.
cartoon.
Yes.
So I think I got to travel about 15, 20 miles on it.
So you need Woody to come back on your show.
Well, we have some Cars-aligned talent and some vehicles as well. We have a whole category of cars that are going to be riding with us that we are viewing as iconic movie cars from the last 50 years, including things like everything from the Oscar Mayer Wiener wagon to the Batmobiles.
Wow.
To all these really great recognizable cars. And there's rumors that we'll be announcing in January that not only will we have one of the vehicles from the cartoon movie Cars, but we may have one of the great voices from that animated series as well that will be driving it along the way.
Fantastic. How exciting. It isn't just a historical event. I look upon it that, transportation, specifically cars and highways and so forth, played such an important role in the development of this country and still has a phenomenal role to play in the future. And yet you're highlighting a activity and an event that has not only transportation historical perspective, but national perspective. And you begin to think, what was the justification? Was it commerce in the early 1920s that led to this? Who instituted it? Did it come from the individual states? Did it come from the federal government? You don't imagine the federal government in the early 1920s being that involved in events such as this. It was very, very conservative after World War I. But you begin to take a look at and you say, wow, whose idea was it originally?
Yeah. Eric, I think I texted you the other day. You've been swamped, and I've been swamped as well. I got to meet with TDOT last week, and with the commissioner, and talking choice lanes and talking. I brought up, should we start bonding projects, because we're just so behind on road projects in the state. Yeah. Congestion along I-24. I mean, there was 2 fatalities this morning on I-40, 2 fatalities 2 weeks ago near Laverne, Old Hickory Boulevard. I mean, it's just, we got to start learning to do more with less. But what I like about what you're doing is that, I see a lot of division today. You see Congress and, you see local officials, always division and chaos. And some of this stuff is so petty, and it's taken away from productivity and solutions because they're talking about stupid stuff. I mean, many times, and I could give those cases, but I won't do it on this guy's show right now. But what I like, you're bringing people together. It's not a Democrat-Republican issue. It's our forefathers were solving problems, and I was talking with TDOT. It was a guy sitting beside me, and I was literally the last to leave their headquarters because they had a lot of infographics about, roads and where we're at, and I'm sending them all to my local county commissioners and city council members. But I was talking to this guy. He's new, and I was talking literally at the governor's residence last night, I believe it was, or night before last. I was even telling the governor's wife about this project and other issues, but the guy come up to me who's a liaison for TDOT. He said, Sparks, you were talking to my boss. That's he's new, this and that. That guy got to telling me when I mentioned Route 66 and some of your efforts. He said, man, my office, his former office, was at the start of Route 66 in Chicago. He said, man, I'd watch everybody line up and get photos. He said, that's where my office. So he ended up getting pretty excited about it. But he told me a little tidbit of history. His dad flew C-130s. That's what my dad worked on, C-130s at Seward, you know. And he says, you know, my dad was in the pilot seat, had all the paratroopers. He said, man, they were ready to go to Cuba. He said the engines were there and they were on the tarmac. He said, people don't realize how serious that situation was. But he was really excited when I mentioned Route 66 and your endeavors there.
We'll be right back. Got to take a special word first, pay the bills. And Eric, we are thoroughly enjoying not only your objective and your passion for this, but so many of the facts that will evolve for the public to see. Stand by.
Whether it's a cough, a fever, or something you can't quite name, MMC Now makes care easy. Walk right in, get seen quickly, and your visit connects directly to your MMC doctor. Care you trust, with providers you know, with digital check-in and multiple locations around town. MMC Now is here when you need us.
Murfreesboro Medical Clinic.
Sign-ups are going on right now for First Shot's Winter Basketball League in Rutherford County. Coach Andy Herzer guides kids to sharpen basketball skills and build teamwork through exciting clinics and games. Since 2003, First Shot has empowered youth to grow in mind, spirit, and body. Don't miss out. Join the fun and develop lifelong skills. Visit firstshottn.org today and register for the Winter Basketball League. That's firstshottn.org.
Life's too short to stress about insurance. That's why Ray Call at Rayburn Insurance is here to make sure you have the right coverage without all the hassle. He'll work hard to provide you with personalized service and finding the best solutions for you and your family. Whether you're looking for auto, home, or business insurance, Rick Hall's got you covered. Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance Agency. Let him handle the details so you can focus on what really matters.
Local farmers, local meats, vegetables, and other produce at the Winter Spring Rutherford County Farmers Market.
Bundle up and make your way every Friday at Lane Agri Park.
Good Neighbor Events is brought to you by America Pest Control, Old National Bank, and the law offices of John Day.
This is a paid legal ad.
You've probably heard it a million times. If you're injured, call a lawyer. And you probably haven't because you don't know how much it will cost, how long it will take, or even if you have a case. At the law offices of John Day, we provide a free initial consultation because we understand that folks don't want to pay a lawyer only to find out they don't have a case. If you think we can help, we do so on a contingency basis, which means we only get paid if you do. Seriously injured? Call me, John Day.
WGNS encourages you to shop our local mom-and-pop businesses, especially this time of the year. Don't forget, this Sunday is the Murfreesboro Christmas Parade. It starts at 2 o'clock, goes down East Main, around the square, and on to West Main. The theme of the parade, A Sweet Christmas. Again, the Murfreesboro Christmas Parade is 2 o'clock this Sunday. Also this weekend and the next weekend, from 4 until 8 in the evening, it's Christmas at Cannonsburg, just off Front Street in Murfreesboro. The admission is $5 per person, with children ages 5 and younger admitted for free. Stroll through this historic village and see how Christmas was celebrated. There is free parking located in the large gravel parking lot next to Cannonsburg. You need to take South Church Street to West Castle Street, and that'll take you directly to the parking lot. The Red Cross is still critically low on blood. Please give the gift of life. Phone the Red Cross at 800-RED-CROSS and make an appointment to give blood at a time that fits your schedule. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
Mostly sunny skies here this afternoon. We'll see a high in the mid-40s. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies develop, a low near 34. Friday, sunshine, high of 57. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki from the WGNS Rutherford Weather Center. Currently, it's 30.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. MTE's Plugged In podcast focuses on the world of electric vehicles. Stay up to date on the EV world, hear interviews with experts, and more. Listen on your favorite podcast platform or visit mte.com/pluggedin.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Hello again, Bill Kraus, WGNS Radio Roundtable Thursday morning edition. And this morning we're having a chat brought to our ability and attention by our good friend, State Representative Mike Sparks, who's with us here this morning. And Mike has invited, and we'll have a telephonic interview with Eric Ritchie, who is putting together a series, television viewing series on Highway 66. Before we go on, Eric, off the air, Mike was telling me that in your family is the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm originally from Montana. I grew up there. My family homesteaded in what is now called Ringling, Montana, because my great-great-grandfather, Alfred T. Ringling, was one of the 5 Ringling brothers, and a big portion of their family homesteaded in Montana, the turn of the century. And so that's how we became Montanans. And there's still a town called Ringling, Montana there, still on the prairies in the state. And I still have a lot of Ringling family members still alive and kicking in the state of Montana. So.
And please tell me, your creativity to a degree goes back in your genes to the 3-ring circus.
Well, I think it may not be the creativity part, but it's definitely the craziness part, I think, of our family. So it's my great-great-grandfather was Alfred T. Ringling, and he did the financials and the marketing for the circus. That was his role as of the 5 brothers that were involved. And so that's I think it's passed down pretty well. There's been a lot of creative businesses and a lot of really great things to reference on throughout our family's history. So I think it all stemmed from that for sure.
Were they headquartered or initially started in Baraboo, Wisconsin? Yes.
Yep, absolutely. In fact, my mother and her sisters still go back, or at least one of them go back to Baraboo quite frequently for the Ringling Parade every year, and kind of guest at that. And there's just so much history. He actually, Alfred T. actually built a mansion and an estate in New Jersey that I had no idea about until a couple of years ago. The estate came up for sale and was brought to my attention, and I didn't even know that it was even there. And so there's still surprises that are coming out of that, even as well documented as that family is.
And isn't there a connection with Sarasota, Florida?
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, John Ringling, as many know, donated his entire fortune and his estate in Sarasota to the state of Florida when he died. In fact, it's been one of the most frequently told Ringling stories throughout our family because it was all left to the state of Florida and none of it went to his family. And so yeah, it's an amazing representation of the Ringling family, that estate down there. I've been to it before for sure.
Now, wouldn't somewhere, and I'm just trying my historical reference, wouldn't a 100-year anniversary too late, too soon for the entire entree of the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus? Or were they?
It would be too late. Yeah, too late at this point. Yeah, that all started, and there was I think there was 13 total children of the five brothers that went on to be the entertainers and built the circus. They were part of a much larger family of siblings, and so they those kids, the 5 brothers, specifically began entertaining in Baraboo, Wisconsin. Their dad was a saddle maker there in Baraboo, and those 5 boys at a very early age, sub-teenage years, began to entertain and do these crazy shows for the people there in Baraboo, and that's where it all started. back in the late 1800s.
Getting back to Highway 66, which certainly is a topic that I find intriguing. Do you anticipate seeing the governors of each of the states impacted by Highway 66? Of course, in a political season, and I could think of certain governors, Illinois, California along the way, Texas, etc., who might have some interesting comment.
Absolutely. That was not a part of the primary focus, of course, but we've sure had some inquiries about how to get some of those folks involved. So we'll be kicking through just the northern part of Texas, going through Amarillo, and so we're starting in Chicago, but we're actually kicking the entire rally off. The celebrity cars will start in Chicago. The 12 cars, the host car, the production car, and then the 10 celebrity cars will start in Chicago. But the entourage and the real media event kickoff on the morning of April 30th will actually take place in Willowbrook, Illinois, about 25 miles south of Chicago, and then we'll head from there to Missouri, and Missouri to Oklahoma, and Oklahoma to the rest of the route. So we've had a lot of interest and a growing level of interest from political figures in those cities as the word has gotten out that about what we're doing.
So you're looking for the kickoff the end of April.
Yeah, April 30th will be the first official day. We will start filming. We're actually filming already for it, but that'll be the official launch of the actual rally itself. And we will have mobile production and editing vehicles and buses that are taking the trip with us, and editing along the way. And then we air the first hour episode on Wednesday, May 13th on the CW during prime time.
That is super. And you say there the 13 shows?
There'll be 12 episodes, and the 12th episode will be a 2-hour live finale for the final leg from Las Vegas to Santa Monica.
Wow, Santa Monica Boulevard right out to the pier.
Yep, that's right. Cool. We're gonna have a big party at the pier. And the first hour of the 2-hour finale will be everybody coming into Santa Monica of our large entourage. And then the second hour will be primarily centered around the award of funding to the nonprofits that we've been representing along the way, and just a feel-good kind of end to a great trip.
Do you have any of the entertainers or relatives of the entertainers who sang along the way? Get Your Kicks on 66 certainly was the biggie in the 1940s, if my mind recollects properly. Or you get, who was it? Is it not Garth Brooks, George Strait, who sang Amarillo, that you go through Amarillo.
Yeah.
Meet me in St. Louis, meet you at the fair.
Well, didn't the Rolling Stones have a version of Route 66, Eric?
There was a song that they have done, and we're actually we're writing a bunch of original music for the show because we're producing a soundtrack for the show as well. But then we're also licensing some of the great iconic songs as well from the past 50 years of music as well. So the licensed material will be about 25%, and then we're writing and producing new material with different artists and different celebrities for the event as well between now and then.
I'd be curious, again, I go for the little detail, I'd be curious what the gas mileage will be on the vehicles participating. You got a 1950 Mercury, and you're getting about 7 miles per gallon. It'd be interesting to compare, because that has had, and Mike can certainly attest to this, the change in gas mileage of vehicles in the last 20 to 30 years has had a huge effect on the gas tax collected by both the state governments and the federal government in ability to keep up with highway building. And, when gas tax was created based upon an 8 to 10 mile per gallon gas, and your revenue was figured on the amount of vehicle per mile, and now you triple it plus the electric cars or the mid cars and so forth. It has had a tremendous effect on the ability to have revenue for highway maintenance.
I know that you brought up to me about the choice lanes, and I think you called them Lexus lanes, didn't you?
No, I just called them poor lanes.
Poor lanes.
Coming from Southern California, the 91 freeway between Corona and Anaheim used to bug me tremendously.
So everybody, I mean, there's people listening right now. Everybody is upset with I-24. I mean, I traveled it yesterday. It took me 3 hours to get to Nashville and back. There was a fatality. You know, Eric, I talk about delays in life. Our Sunday school lesson 2 weeks ago about delays in life. Well, I got delayed, and I was bringing Marty Luffman some food. You know, Marty's had the bad car wreck and can't come on a walk. So I run off the house and forgot the food. So I had to turn back around over on Todd Lane and Smyrna and go back out at the house and get the food and come up. And there was a fatality right there at Bradley Parkway. And I kind of thought, and I got rerouted to Murphy Road, and I thought, you know, maybe the Lord intended me to get delayed 5-8 minutes, because it would have put me closer to that fatality. But going back on the roads, you know, when I was with TDOT last week, you know, we do an annual meeting, and, you know, and it's, you know, pretty neat. I'm dealing with all these engineers and the commissioner of TDOT, Will Reed, and the challenges are so enormous that, and that's what really aggravates me when I see these little trivial things going on in our community, little backbiting and fighting and stuff. It's like, man, this next generation, we don't have time to fiddle fart around with stupid things. We got problems. I mean, our jails overcrowded, our prisons are overcrowded. You're short on teachers, you're short on police officers, traffic, and the real solutions maybe not be discussed. But I brought up bonding projects, like I said earlier, which is a big no-no in our state. But, you know, money is leverage. Money is a tool if it's used properly. You know, I bought my first house at 22, and I sold a car. I sold my 68 Camaro to put the down payment down. But if I would have tried to pay cash, I'd have never done it. So that's what we're doing with roads. But I just said select projects like Jefferson Pike. Jefferson Pike should have been widened 20 years ago. Yeah. And, you know, because if you look at and I want to get you this information, because if you look at all the inflation since COVID, I said, wouldn't you have been better off bonding these projects before COVID? And hindsight is 2020. And I've seen these engineers and even their finance people who don't want to come out and say anything, looking at me like, I think they're agreeing with me, but they just can't come out and say anything. And I see that a lot in state government, local government as well. But yeah, you know, the funding is going to be so critical because no one's going to vote for a gas tax. And, you know, we got more electric cars. And, you know, I see where President Trump they're backing off some of these excessive mandates, which I think could help more domestic production in our automotive industry, which is critical to Tennessee with Nissan and GM being here. But the challenges are so enormous. That's why, like Dr. Kraus here and others with wisdom, you mentioned, I was telling you about Mr. Charles Jones. Yes. You know, he's 95. I was telling the governor's wife the other night about Mr. Jones. He's willing to put up, you know, $2 million for a state park over if they bring it to the old Jefferson community where he grew up at. He built his first house, his dad did, out of the original lumber that came out of, that was original county seat, out of the original courthouse. I mean, I can't make this stuff up. It's so surreal to me, but he told me, speaking of memories, and I know he got you a little excited when I told you about it, Eric, when he was on the show a couple weeks ago. He remembers traveling down Jefferson Pike in front of, on Sam Ridley, before Seward Air Force Base was constructed. I mean, I can't even grapple that in my mind. You know, like I said, my dad served there. I was born there. A lot of folks are here in Smyrna because of that. I mean, Seward Air Force Base transformed this entire county. Nissan wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Seward Air Force Base. But that guy has that memory, you know, with his uncle. He has that. I mean, and I'm going to have him come at the Capitol and speak. I'm thinking January the 15th and share his vision because he wants to put up money for a workforce housing development for, you know, police, firefighters, teachers, because it's going to get to a point that our own people, kids, aren't going to be able to live in our own community. You know, so the issues are critical. But what I like about what you're doing, you're bringing people together, and you also are creative, looking at solutions.
Well, and it's raising a lot. And listen, it's a great fun event, and the celebrity turnout has already been tremendous. And so all that stuff for me really is not about the celebrities and not about anything other than creating a platform to talk about really important issues. And I mentioned earlier how important all this has been for me the last 20 years to have this media involvement, because of my kids have been involved in a lot of the nonprofits and a lot of these really impactful stories that have been told over the years. And listen, if our kids don't develop a sense of compassion and a sense of empathy, which we are seeing disappear at an alarming rate right now across every living generation that's alive right now, if we can't instill that level of empathy and caring at the children level and grow up with them having that perspective on the approach to political issues and everything that we're facing right now, we're sunk. And so,
I agree.
I'm so proud of not just the content and stuff that we're producing, but the fact that we are doing it in a way that is not politically aligned, that is saying, listen, these are issues no matter what side of the lane you're on.
Yeah.
And until we can have an honest, heartfelt conversation and not place everything on a political leverage point, we're going to continue to be in a bad shape. And I think this is going to, next year is not only the 100-year anniversary of Route 66, the 250th anniversary of the birthday of the U.S.
Yes.
Correct.
And the 25th anniversary of 9/11. And
Yes.
We're telling all those stories along the way, and my hope is that it becomes a platform to gently approach some tough topics and to get people from both sides to get involved. And guys, I hate to jump I couldn't make it into the studio this morning because my 23-year-old son is being sworn into the Navy this morning.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
You're on your way.
I'm sitting outside of the center right now, waiting to walk in to watch him start the next chapter of his life. And
our congratulations and our deep, deep, deep appreciation for his service forthcoming. And being a former Navy guy, I think he's going to have a wonderful time.
Yes.
Thank you, Eric. You've been a great help. We look forward to meeting you one of these days, and understand you're leading a Bible study coming up.
Yeah, when is that, Eric?
It'll start the second week in January, and it will be surrounded by classic cars in my shop, and it's a men's ministry called The Shop, primarily focused on reaching unchurched automotive enthusiasts in the region. So super excited about that.
Do you have the slogan, charge your batteries up?
We've got there's probably more analogies than I care to go through, and I don't want it to be too cheesy, but there's a lot.
Eric, I dropped off that Mercedes out front is mine. The battery's probably dead because I haven't driven the car in really a year. And I went, cleaned up, dropped it off over there, so I'll get the keys over to you. But I hate to tell you, the fan belt slipped off, serpentine belt slipped off, and I don't know it's because I washed it or what. But anyways, if you can sell it for me, I'd sure appreciate it.
You heard this story first on WGNS.
Yeah,
we'll be right back. We've got a word from our sponsor.
Thank you, Eric.
Whether it's a cough, a fever, or something you can't quite name, MMC Now makes care easy. Walk right in, get seen quickly, and your visit connects directly to your MMC doctor. Care you trust, with providers you know, with digital check-in and multiple locations around town. MMC Now is here when you need us.
Murfreesboro Medical Clinic.
Every holiday season, MTE joins in the fun, supporting and taking part in local Christmas parades. From Murfreesboro to Fairview to Franklin, we light the streets, celebrate with our neighbors, and share in the joy of the season. Good energy is the heart of the holidays, because it's more than electricity. It's the spirit that powers every celebration.
Merry Christmas, Rutherford County. I'm Kenneth Barrett. I'm running for sheriff in 2026. This time of year brings back lots of great memories of those who have gone before us, those still with us. I love sharing time with my family, friends, swapping stories, and laughing. I've been proud to call Rutherford County and the Sheriff's Office my home my whole life. When elected sheriff, I will continue to work hard, keep our families safe, and serve with honesty, integrity, and heart. From my family to yours, Merry Christmas.
Hello, I'm Adam Tipton with Farm Bureau Insurance. For over 75 years, Farm Bureau Insurance has proudly served Rutherford County, helping protect what matters most to our neighbors. If you're new to the area or just new to us, please give us a chance to earn your business. Give us a call at 615-893-1213 or visit us at 818 South Church Street in Murfreesboro. Our agents and staff are ready to serve you. From our team to your family, we wish you a very Merry Christmas.
This is Chip Walters, and I'm honored to be your 2024 MTAR Realtor of the Year. I'm with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates, and like many of you, I've seen the real estate market shift and change. People often ask, Chip, what's really going on? Well, that's a great question, and I believe in answering with solid, factual data. So let's cut through some of the noise. I invite you to reach out. Let's have a conversation about your real estate goals and the current market trends in your neighborhood. You can find all my contact information at choosechip.net.
This is Kim Dunaway from Sunshine Nutrition Center. You hear me on Monday mornings at 7:20 talking about how to lead a healthier lifestyle. We carry supplements, personal care, and grocery items at both our Murfreesboro and Smyrna locations, family owned and operated since 1989.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Bill Kraus, third and final round of the WGNS Radio Roundtable Thursday morning edition. Hope you all enjoyed that plan for the tribute to the 100th anniversary of Highway 66. You know, there's a slogan I always used with local communities, and I think it really taps it all. We should all be very, very proud of our history and very confident of our future. And one needs to relate to history. One needs to relate to those events that triggered off a whole litany of successes and achievements, and also of reaction and responses. So in our remaining moments, Mike, wishes for the new year, not necessarily anticipation of policy and legislation that you would like to see circulated, but you've been in the legislature a good period of time. You've been involved with not only the politic, but the success of Rutherford County in days of being on the county commission. What are your hopes and dreams for 2026?
You know, what frustrates me, the General Assembly is not the place to go to solve problems, I promise you. Everybody wants to, I get tagged, solve this problem, solve this problem, solve this problem. The General Assembly, government is literally the last resort, in my opinion. I was telling some folks the other day, who was I talking to? Oh, it was the clerk of all people at the state capitol. She's real sweet. She's goes to church here in Murfreesboro, from Murfreesboro. I think she went to Riverdale High School, but she travels. We were talking about the traffic. She goes down 65 to get back to Murfreesboro because the traffic's so bad. But I just want people to work together and find solutions. These issues really aren't Democrat or Republican. They're not really conservative or liberal. But I think, and I've said this before, I think a lot of times the media fuels the narrative to cause division. This traffic up here, it's not a Democrat or Republican issue. The homelessness, not a Democrat or Republican issue. Our jails are overcrowded, not a Democrat or Republican issue. A lot of it's mental health, addiction. So find solutions, and shout out to Chairman Craig Harris. There's that opioid council that is trying to help, hustle recovery, that are trying to help. I just seen a young man, my wife told me about a young man that I helped get a car for 3 years ago. She said he passed away. Wasn't but 34 years old.
Wow.
And I thought, well, who's going to go to his funeral? And a lot of this really goes back to, in my opinion, lack of fathers. My dad, one reason I don't believe in much debt, because my dad grew up during the Great Depression, World War II, and I'd bought a house when I was like 28, no money out of pocket. Nice home over there across from Oaks on Week Lane. Beautiful home. My wife loved it. And but I sold it, made a pretty good lick on it, but I bought it with no money out of pocket, had a used Mercedes for my wife, $140,000. And I remember my dad didn't talk to me for 4 months.
Wow.
He thought I was trying to keep up with the Krauses.
Oh.
But my dad didn't see it that way. I bartered for the driveway with Mike Hollingshead, traded Mike a Cadillac for a probably a $10,000 pea gravel, beautiful driveway. And, I've always tried to do more with less. And the times, I've wrote 3 books. One of them's called How to Do More with Less During Tough Times. Not trying to sell a book. It is on Amazon. But, we've got to get back to our forefathers with wisdom and discernment. And the churches can't solve all the problems. But I'm telling you, faith in my life has been critical. All the hardships I've went through, lost my mom, lost my stepdad, lost a brother, lost a sister, lost a stepsister. I mean, somebody just tagged me on Facebook about nursing homes. Well, I probably dealt with nursing homes more than any lawmaker. My sister, Vicky, sadly suffered for 6 years in a nursing home. I watched it. My mother was in a nursing home for a year. I watched them being shorthanded of nursing, caregivers. But this is the workforce development problem. I mean, how do you get correctional officers, police officers, teachers, people that want to work in nursing homes? These are serious issues, and we're not really having that much of a conversation. Yeah, there are some people out there having conversation, but it's critical. And that's why I want 95-year-old Charles Jones to come to the state capitol, meet with the governor, meet with the Speaker of the House, meet with lawmakers, Democrat, Republican, to share his vision. I mean, if this guy right now is willing to stroke a check for $2 million for a state park, when you have infrastructure out there at the old Jefferson area, used to be up, it's East Fork over there, and, they took everybody's land back in the day. They didn't need the land. So this guy's passionate. He owns the Milky Way farm. He owned Hickory Hollow and sold Hickory Hollow, bought a house from me years ago for a minister and let her pay interest. We sold it for $140 years ago. It appraised at $350. This dude's a real deal. Mm-hmm. But you got to get what worries me when you're gone and these older generation people are gone. We're stuck with the lack of wisdom that we have today. I mean, look at we got gambling everywhere. People don't give a crap anymore. The Titan Stadium, I didn't vote for that. How's that going to benefit you? How's it benefiting the people in my district?
Oh, the Titans haven't really lived up
to.
No.
I mean, it's almost embarrassing, and I know I'm going to tick a lot of people off, but it's lobbying. They lobbied for that, folks. Who's lobbying for that addict? Who's lobbying for that kid without a father? Who's lobbying for that young female that was sexually abused that's going to turn to drugs and alcohol? We got to start turning this country around. And I don't want to use profanity because I can easily get upset. But I see so much BS.
Yes.
BS. We got a book of 68 pages of lobbyists. And some of them are nice people. Mm-hmm. But I promise you, there ain't lobbying for our community. And we're paying. People don't even realize your government is paying lobbyists. So what are we doing up here? What are we doing? I mean, this is big money people, folks. And Phil Williams is never going to tell this story, Dr. Kraus. I know you don't like me talking about Phil Williams because your daughter works for Channel 5. But where are your journalists today? Where are they? They're not talking about this title pond, advanced finance, and title max that's going to put the next generation in bondage, slavery. And somebody didn't like me using the term slavery. I said, well, you tell me what term you want to use. And what are you doing about it, by the way? I went to the governor, asked him to veto the bill. I was a little disappointed in our governor. I like the governor. But he said, Mike, why does this matter to you so much? I said, because the next generation, they're going to lose their cars. People don't realize these people are evil. They'll bait you in 11%, and it's really 11% a month. Then they take your car. And there's no county commissioner going to talk about this. The mayor ain't going to talk about it. Nobody's talking about this. The sheriff ain't going to talk about it. But 50 years ago, I guarantee you they would, Dr. Kraus.
Well, didn't we have you couldn't charge more than 10% interest?
Dr. Kraus, this stuff has gotten to 200-something% interest. People don't see the nefarious of what's going on because you know what? The media is in on this stuff. And I know people, oh, Mike, that sounds crazy. The media's in on it. Look at how much money they're making in ad revenue. That's what I like about WGNS. You ain't going to hear those piece of crap companies advertising up here because Bart ain't going to allow it. That's why I admire Bart Walker so much, because it ain't about the money. You know, the Good Neighbor Station, that's real, the Good Neighbor Station. And when we see our neighbors suffering, people need to get fired up and upset about it because you've gotten to a time where Ben Franklin once said, when the citizenry realizes they can vote themselves money from the Treasury, that's going to herald in the Republic. And we see Congress broken, and we see what's going on today. We can't fund the military. We can't fund these things. I'm telling you, folks, these are signals and signs that raise the hair on my arms. Like, man, what about this next generation? What about my grandbaby Grace and Henry? What's the life going to be like not just Rutherford County, but in Tennessee. That's my rant. So sorry, but the legislature is not the way to solve problems, folks. I promise you.
Otherwise, you're very optimistic about 2026.
Well, I am, but I'm telling you, we got to get back to faith, folks. I mean, I've seen people healed of drugs by putting their heart and soul in Jesus Christ. I've seen it. Well, put a price on that, Dr. Kraus. And if any academics want to debate me, let's set up at Tucker Theater. Bring 100 of you. Bring your doctorate degrees, and I'll debate you by myself. Because I can bring a powerful tool, powerful weapon, and it's called truth. It's called truth. And when I brought up a bill freezing all the top brass's pay raise, when I first got elected, I went to Beth Hall. I couldn't find a Senate sponsor. Nobody would touch this bill. And I would see these people get raises. I went to Beth Harwell and I said, Speaker, I have no support. And she looked at me and it was like this sad look like, Mike, I feel your pain. And she said, well, if it makes you feel better, she said, you got truth on your side. And you wouldn't think a sentence of encouragement made a difference. But I run the bill. And I did find a Senate sponsor, and the guy said, man, you got to get it passed at the House. That's what they'll tell you because they know it's difficult. But here, the guy that I got into it with, the chairman, people called him a bulldog Republican Party. People said I called him a hypocrite. In the committee, I said, let's don't be hypocritical. We talk a good talk, but what are we doing? You know what happened to that guy?
No.
He got arrested a month or two later for violating his own bill. I mean, I can't make this stuff up, Dr. Kraus. He was in Hooters. Hooters, folks, this you can make a movie about this. He was in Hooters with a gun. He passed the bill meaning you can be in a bar or like Hooters with your gun, but you can't drink. We come out of there drunk. It was the guy that people said I called him a hypocrite. He was a hypocrite.
How would you go into a bar and not to order a drink
that was his bill.
And carry a gun?
I can't make this stuff up, folks. And you're going to look and people, oh man, the legislature, that's the wisdom you want? And that guy's name's Curry Todd. I don't care if he's listening or not. He's the one that stole his opponent's signs in Memphis. They got him on camera, and his opponent bailed him out of jail. I mean, this stuff is like
brotherhood.
Seinfeld episode, but folks want to look it up. And then that lawmaker that bailed him out only lasted 2 weeks because he got in trouble for sexual harassment. I mean, it's so crazy that a filmmaker could easily do a video about this kind of stuff. But here's what this guy's doing. Instead of solving problems, he's in Hooters with his gun. I mean, it's like...
And ordering a drink.
It's so crazy. I bet the media did cover that. But instead of solutions and helping, a lot of this is self-serving, I promise you.
You know, I think the most important thing, and the complexities that you raise, Mike, certainly keep many of us up at night, are the solutions. You know what's interesting, though, going back to history, we've talked about much of this program with the 100th anniversary of Highway 66, is that people were having these same frustrations at different levels throughout our history. That's part of a democracy, to have these frustrations. You know, if you go back in the 1920s as being a brilliant economic stage, people were having conflicts of social versus values versus the morality of life and so forth in the 1920s. You know, it's always a pleasure to get together with you, Mike Sparks. You bring in an intriguing perspective, but the most important thing about you, and I guess I have to say this as we kick off 2026, you are passionate about what you believe in, you are passionate about life, and you are passionate about serving others.
Well, I appreciate it.
And that's what really counts. May that be our New Year's resolution for all of us, the passionate about serving others. And serving others with the heart and mind, the faith and spirit, and the practice of life. See you all next week. We've got a treat for you next week. Stand by. Have a wonderful week in between.
Subscribe to Big G TV, local content that matters to Rutherford County.